Namaste,
Namaste,
Techies.
Techies.
Namaste,
Nam-
Anoop.
Namaste, Harjit. As always, right?
Oh my God. Hey, so some feedback about our greeting whenever we start. Apparently, our viewers actually really love it because we come in, we start off with a lot of energy, a lot of happiness, and a lot of excitement. And you know what? That's the name of the game, and that's what we are, and that's what we love to hear.
Yay!
So, yay. So, thank you. All right. So, due to some time crunch that I have today, I could speak with you for 2 hours all the time,
That's
but
normal for us.
that's normal, pretty normal. So, we're going to kick off the show, and we are really, really excited. We have a really special guest joining us today. He's one of the leading experts in the our tech industry, someone I respect a lot, someone that our viewers respect a lot, and he has great content and great information. So, without any further ado, let's welcome Joy.
Hey, Jai.
Yay! Namaste, Joy.
Namaste.
Yeah, yeah. Welcome, and it's good to have you joining us today. I know it was late notice, and as usual, Anup likes to screw up with the schedules. So, but we're glad to have you here. And uh, yeah, it's a lot of fun. So, anyways, Anup, did you want to add something?
No, welcome, Joy, and it's great pleasure to have you here. And you are very active in our HTMD community as well. So, welcome.
Bravo. Yeah.
No,
So,
it's
listen, Joy.
actually, yeah, but before we do that, so it's actually a great moment because finally I'm in the Namaste Techies session. Like, I have seen your sessions and the videos, and I was thinking, like, when will my turn come into get into one of these sessions? And finally it happened. So, yeah,
We've been
it,
wanting to get you here for a while. It's just that yeah, a lot of times that people think that Anup and I plan the shows, like in terms of what we're going to discuss and stuff like that. And normally, what we do is we do our shows on the fly. Like, so that is something to think about, that we're pretty creative, right? Other no, seriously, because other YouTubers, right? They have plans, right? Okay, next month
yeah,
on this day, we're gonna talk about this. These are the things that we're gonna do. I mean, it's very structured and all that stuff, right? It's like you're making a movie, right? But for us, it's very spontaneous because we go with the flow with what is happening in the community, right? Or with the technology at that moment in time. Like, what is the need of of the industry, right? So today, and this is not the last time you're here. You are gonna be our regular host. I mean guest. We want you here. But the reason we brought you here, especially today, the hot topic of autopilot, Windows Autopilot, and you, I feel you're a great expert in this field. You have written a bunch of blog posts about autopilot, some workarounds, some issues, and things like that. And would love to have you talk about autopilot with
Yeah.
us.
And especially your favorite, Harjit, hybrid Azure AD join.
Ah, my favorite. Yes.
so definitely we are. Yeah, autopilot is one of the hot topics. But before we get to autopilot, like on the note that when you said that how impromptu this particular sessions are, like we go on the fly, I cannot agree more after the blooper that Anup did with me with the invitation. So
Right. You
definitely
see?
that's there. Yeah.
That's
I
what
am
makes it fun, right?
I'm the
Yeah,
most creative one.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So Autopilot, yeah, definitely, it's one of the hot topics because of the transformation and the transitions that the many organizations are doing to the modern workplace strategy. It's not something like back in 2017 or 2018, modern workplace or digital workplace has been known as something as a nice to have feature for the organizations where they were very complacent with their on premises investments and things like that. But fast forward to 2020 and the COVID thing happened and the
Mhm.
entire world shut down with everyone working remotely. The importance of modern workplace like has been I would say the impact is multiplied hundreds and thousands of times, and the acceleration which it gave to the organizations doing this digital transformation journey is something that like we people who are working in TNT projects as well as like you guys from like Harjit from Microsoft, he knows how many customers he is helping to move to modern cloud. And one of the uh, drivers of modern management for Windows devices, because mobile devices, yeah, they are obviously there, but
Mhm.
the major driver of a workplace are the Windows devices. And an important part for those devices to become a modern managed is how they are provisioned. Because modern management or device management, it's not only about like creating policies to manage the device, but it's more of an end-to-end journey for a device during its life cycle, from the provisioning to its retirement. And in that sense, Autopilot plays a major role in getting the device into a managed state.
Yeah.
So,
That's well
uh,
said. That's absolutely true with what you said with the journey to get from where you are now to where you want to go in that whole modern space, right? You couldn't have said it any better. I couldn't have said it any better, but perfect. So I do see that now, customers and organizations and stuff are really starting to look at, hey, we want to do modern, the whole Intune management and Azure AD management and joining the Azure AD and all that stuff. But then they're also looking at the new imaging, right? So some customers, they know that, okay, whether they use SCCM for imaging or MDT, but they're thinking that they can duplicate the same thing with the cloud services like Intune. And I tell them that's not true. There is no such thing as traditional imaging. What it is Autopilot, but Autopilot is a provisioning solution, right? It's not you have your devices as is, you're provisioning it so it's company ready. You can start working with your company resources and stuff like that. So there's some distinction that people need to make and understand that. Um, but then we get into this problem here, or not as a problem, maybe a bit more of a challenge is with hybrid environments, right? Um, and that is where like the the complexities happen, in my opinion, from my experience, is that some organizations are pretty simple, right? They domain join their machines to their local domain, and they got very simple tools and stuff like that. But the others, they've got some complicated VPN solutions. They've got some security solutions. They've got proxies that they use. They've got you know very intricate complex applications that they're trying to do, and a lot of these things then end up failing the autopilot process. And then you also have this notion about that ESP, right? And
yeah,
we try to encourage people to use ESP so it gives you that whole visual, but then ESP is also kind of a blocker when it comes to hybrid stuff. So this is where, like, I think if you
definitely.
can like just talk to us about it, What do you recommend? How do you work around these things? I know you got some great blog posts. Maybe you can just point some of those things out. Um, that'll be awesome.
Yeah. So definitely, I would like to start from the very beginning of this entire topic of Azure AD join versus hybrid Azure AD join. So the move to modern management is not only something that is giving the focus on the device management aspect only. Modernizing is applicable for the entire environment. How you move your entire on-premises thing from like file shares to SharePoint Online and things like that. So it's a journey that is going from every level of your infrastructure. It's not only
Mhm.
about the devices that are making the journey. And in those senses, uh, small or mid-sized businesses who do not really have that much investment in their on-premises and new spin-offs or new startups who are coming into this space, they can directly start with the modern managed workplace with everything up in cloud with M365 cloud. So that's it. But what about organizations or enterprises, large enterprises who have huge investments on their on-premises infrastructure?
Right.
They have spent years and fine-tuning their policies and things like that, the AD structure. So, what one of the complex like strategies when transforming or modernization of these organizations come is how nested their AD structuring is. And as we all know, Azure AD is flat. There is nothing like that of concept of OUs and how you nest OUs within that. And then you
Right.
have group policies tagged to those particular OUs, so it's applicable only to that, and filtering and waterfall effect. So there is nothing like that with Azure AD and Intune. So those kind of organizations, when they're looking to make the journey to the modern management, hybrid Azure AD comes in as a perfect solution for them. But there is a catch to it, like going Azure AD join or you go hybrid Azure AD join. Uh, Both of the things can look like the destination, but hybrid Azure AD join is really not the last stop of that modernization journey. So even though it is giving the best of both worlds, where you get to retain the control of your on-premises thing as well as getting the benefits of the cloud using the tenant attached, cloud attached, or co-management, whatever way you say that. Like these are obviously different things. Like I'm just going into the flow like that. But that is there. Like when you get to a hybrid state, doing that, and you think like we are in cloud now, we are modern, then that is a false satisfaction that can lead to what we see like doing autopilot hybrid Azure AD join with new devices as well. There's only a few points or a few actually, yeah, really few points that can make you stick to hybrid, like your services really relies on LDAP queries, your legacy applications that are there, and you have device authentication. Uh, One is like the NPS authentication, like Radius for Wi-Fi access. Because the device object is just not there in your Active Directory, like even if you have device write back enabled in the AD Connect or Azure AD Connect, it basically comes into the registered devices container, which is not actually considered as a computer object. So NPS does not fix that up. These are a point, but there are workarounds for this because if you need Wi-Fi access, you can do it with SCIP certificates and Intune as well with giving device ID. So maybe a few modifications here and there, but you may not have what you are there on the on-premises exact as is in the cloud world because it's not like that. So if you are rigid, like I need to have it exactly like how it was in my on-prem thing, you may be up for a shock because you need to adapt to the new mindset, the new approach of doing things. There needs to be changes made in the workflows and a lot of this. And that's really the whole thing. Like it's a journey basically, and you need to travel
So
through it.
so you have
And
people that will
yeah,
ask, right? Okay, so I have brand new machines that we bought, right? Non existing machines. And they're not in Azure AD. They're not, they're not in my on-prem AD and stuff. But we're a hybrid environment, and we want to autopilot these devices. But so if they, how do you, what is the process? Let's say a brand new machine, you take it out of the box. What kind of, how do you set up the NDES? How do you set up some of these things that it can start connecting and doing what it needs to do? Um, right? And then the whole VPN and all that stuff. That's another topic altogether.
yeah.
Uh, that can get a bit complicated. So in this sense, like individual machines, brand new, you're trying to send them over to the user so they can unbox and all that stuff. Like how, I know there's also some talk about whether you are doing Wi-Fi or you're doing Ethernet connections, right? Um, Apparently, there's a differentiation in that and how it connects and get, because Wi-Fi you need to have your login and whatever, but generally Ethernet is you're really connected to the network anyways. So
Mhm.
yeah, talk about some of those things. Maybe like, hey, this is what I would do. This is how, you need to go set this up, or whether you need to make some changes in the deployment profiles, uh, things like that. What is your recommendation also about applications? How many applications should you target during autopilot, and is that preferable for the device process or the user side of process, right?
I would say again, like existing devices you have in your environment, Windows 10 or Windows 11. Windows 10 mainly, Windows 11 is new. Uh, you get them to the hybrid state, co-managed with Intune. That's the best way for them. Leave them there. Once those devices reach their end of life, and you refresh them with a new device, get them into the environment as a cloud-only device. But new devices, if they are coming into the environment, like unless and until you are really tied down with those hard limitations like LDAP and device authentication features, please don't do hybrid Azure AD join with Autopilot. It will save your IT a lot of headaches.
Exactly. Right.
There, there's some because with cloud only Azure AD joined, because everything is up there in the cloud and there are no on-premises components coming into the picture. It's a it's a lot seamless process, like how
Mhm.
exactly modern provisioning of devices should be. With hybrid Azure AD join with Autopilot, you bring in the components and you bring in the breakpoints into the process, like the ODJ connector, the requirement of VPN to get the line of sight of AD. There are many things that comes in, and a
Exactly.
failure in here and a failure in there. And though there are ways, I know like the end user needs to be educated to launch a remote session during the OV provisioning if they ever fail a thing. But for most of the organization, say I'm working for a manufacturing organization, their end users are not IT users are comfortable with the computer or doing commands in the command from during who be doing like that. For them, if anything goes wrong with the device during the provisioning, it basically you will rely on your OSS or DEXA support,
Hmm.
and that
Right.
is all that. And those guys are also like, with my experience, I will say, like, what I can say, but it will sound very bad. but I'm not demeaning any technical level of any support person. But the
Right.
OSS,
But
we all have our experience, right?
they are not trained for that, right? So their job is
Yes.
Yeah,
something
and
different.
their
Yeah,
job is something different, and the other thing is the mindset because they
yeah,
are accustomed of doing a thing in the way that they have done for maybe the last 5 or 10 years. When you
Oh,
bring
exactly.
in something new, they just can't follow that, even if you are giving out to them the clear instructions.
yeah,
Yeah.
That is how it is. So
yeah.
if you don't want to overcomplicate your environment, don't go for the hybrid Azure AD join because not only about the provisioning, it's also about the end user experience.
Yeah.
If
Uh,
I get a new device out of the box and I need to do a hybrid, like I don't need to know that I'm doing a hybrid Azure AD join, but in the backend, if it is doing a hybrid Azure AD join, as a plain simple user, when I log into the device, it goes through the process. Let me say that IT has taken care of everything, disabling the user ESP, everything. The device gets set up, it gets to the desktop. The device is not ready yet. What I will do
Yes.
with the device? And I will only get frustrated, right? Because there will be notifications popping up that register, there is a problem with your work or school account because the device does not have a Azure AD PRT at that moment, because the backend
Yes.
is not completed. If as a user, like I have no
It looks like it's
idea.
completed, but it's not completed. You know, that's the thing
Yeah,
people don't realize. There's still a lot
yeah,
more that needs to happen after the user successfully gets the desktop and they think, okay, why don't I have my stuff? And why? Well, it's still trying to, like you said, it's still doing the Azure AD PRT and all that fun stuff. And yeah,
and
so
this is because like how it is designed from the base on, like you cannot buffer the delay that your on-prem infrastructure will do in syncing the computer object to Azure. Like
right.
we all know that it's a 30-minute by default sync delay that happens because every new object will be there. But then there are organizations who again overly complicate that with the attribute-based filtering. Like when a device object is created on the on-premises OU, where
Mhm.
the ODJ creates the object, someone or some automated process needs to update the attribute of the device object to make it eligible for the sync, which adds in further delay. So I have seen that happening.
Yeah,
But anyways, even if you supercharge of like there's a script like you can do a delta sync doing there, but you won't be running a delta sync every minute, right? That
right.
that puts a load on the server, and
Yeah, it's complex. It's
to do that.
bottom line. It is complex with hybrid for sure. So
Yeah,
here's a puzzle for you, right? So individual devices, brand new devices, right? You want to get it registered with the Autopilot service. We know you can do the in the Ubi you can do the PowerShell, the script, and then the dash online, and it registers with the Autopilot service, right? No problem with your tenant and all that stuff. But what about organizations that's didn't plan properly maybe and they purchased brand new devices because like maybe 500 devices or something, right? They're still sitting in the warehouse at their company, right? Ready to be deployed, and then now they realize that like, oh, we don't want to re-image these machines with MDT or SCCM. We want to do autopilot. Now the the challenge, how do you get these to register these 100 to 500 brand new machines into autopilot? It's like, oh boy, the 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 cart is already like gone before the horse.
that's
Right? So without unboxing the machines to do the individual PowerShell script, it
Uh-huh.
I I don't see another way unless somebody else knows. But I think one of the recommendations that I had provided was, um, talk to the OEM vendor where you bought the machines from. Right? They have the information of the hardware IDs and stuff like that of these machines. Now you can work with them, possibly to get them registered in your tenant. Right? You do that whole agreement thing with them or whatever. I think that would be the most easiest um, mechanism, I would say. Then,
Yeah,
yeah,
because the CSP partners and the OEMs, they does not need the 4K device hash to actually register the device to Autopilot. They can do it with the serial number, device model, and manufacturer details as well, or the tuple, whatever way they are. So if you have, but definitely you will have to follow up with them a lot for that because
and
yeah.
and uh, and they won't charge anything, right? It is for free.
No, no, no. They do. Not all of them are free. There are one or two vendors are free, but others are they charge a small amount or they charge a big amount. So you have
it, it's
to.
it, it's mostly
Yeah.
how your strategic relationship with that partner is.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So quickly, before we go, why don't you? I'd love to highlight your the content that you normally share with the community. I mean, it's like it's really well done. I mean, you put in a lot of time into it. It's very systematic. You got some great tools and stuff. I would like to give you an opportunity to share uh, your content, your blog site. So if you want to do a screen share, it's up to you. So people can see it, and then we will definitely share those links and stuff in our YouTube channel as well. But if there's anything specific you want to showcase, now's your time.
Yeah, definitely. So let me share this screen.
And it is Joy's blogs are very detailed, right?
Yes, they
So
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, and easy to understand because he uses a lot of schema diagrams and all, right? So that is very easy to understand where this is happening, what is happening at this particular
Yeah.
point of time. So it is very useful.
Yeah.
So I will. I am. I think my screen should be visible.
Yep. We see
It
the,
is.
the visual here. Yep.
So uh, the thing that you see is what uh, I prefer as a journey to the modern management for enterprises or organizations that are currently relying on the on-premises thing. So, like you see the traditional managed workplace, existing devices, you get to a hybrid state, which is a stopgap solution. But down-level devices or devices that request a reset or reimage because of troubleshooting, end-of-life devices subjected to device refresh cycle, or new devices coming into the environment should always go into directly to the modern managed state, not in a hybrid state. So that is
Mhm.
what I would prefer. And this is also actually like a tried and tested proven path because it Azure AD join and hybrid Azure AD join. These two states can coexist in the same environment.
Yeah.
There is nothing like that. You cannot have that. But over the period of time, the Azure AD join on the cloud only model should get dominant. Uh, if not, like if you are getting stuck into the hybrid state, then that's a problem.
Right. Is this this is on your website, right? On your blog site?
This is not on the website. This is something that I'm working on currently.
Okay. Okay.
This is
Yeah.
exclusive for Namaste Techies.
Okay. Perfect. Because this is really awesome. I really like it. Really breaks it down and gives you the flow and stuff like that. So really bravo to you for this. But love to see it on your blog post though, blog site.
Yeah, it will be coming soon, but other than that, if I have to tell you about my blogs, then obviously I've done a lot on the autopilot thing.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, and like I do blog posts on the other topics as well, like Android, iOS, and different of Windows 10. But most of the hits come in for my autopilot post only. I don't know why. The other post does not get that level of hits. But then, yeah, so I have a detailed blog post here, which goes through the like shows you a high level design diagram of how hybrid
Mhm.
Azure AD join looks. So this one is also available in GitHub, so you can download and use it as your reference if you need one. But then it talks to all the breakpoints, like from where you are expecting a failure and
Right.
how those failure can occur. So this is one of the posts definitely, and there is one other that I have done with like to do a Azure AD join or not to do a Azure AD join, which talks about uh, the relation or the limitations basically. So why you do a hybrid Azure AD join or why you prefer a hybrid Azure AD join over a cloud only model. But if you are not tied down with any of this, then please don't do hybrid Azure AD join. That
Don't say
that's
don't say like that because Harjit's favorite option is hybrid Azure AD join.
No.
hybrid Azure AD join is actually a good thing. So
Yeah.
if you really want troubles in your life, then this is the perfect thing that you can work on.
If you, I guess, if you want some challenges and if you have nothing else to do,
Mhm.
This is the best option, right?
yeah, best option.
Yeah, this is
Anyways,
the best option because uh, I, I talked about this in one of the uh, in one of the presentations, the problems that we face with the autopilot hybrid Azure AD join is basically like you take out the device out of the box, you power it on, you connect to the network, it checks the autopilot if the
yeah,
device is autopilot registered or not. Uh, because we have already registered the device to autopilot service, there is a AAD device object in the Azure AD
right.
that you will find because for the ZTD ID stamping. The autopilot profile being assigned to it, the profile gets downloaded to the device and it applies that to drive the further of the out of box experience. You get to the customized sign-in page.
Yeah,
It's good. It's like the plain normal Azure AD join thing only. So there is no
right.
changes in the, you do the Azure AD sign in, you get the access token, the MDM discovery URL. Uh, it requests for the offline domain join blob, which Intune then goes ahead and creates via the Intune AD connector, the OTJ connector that we say, and the device object gets created in the AD. Now, this device object, from here, the problem actually starts because the device object is not subject to immediate AD connecting. I will get to that later, but the OTJ blob is sent back to the device applies the OTJ blob and reboots, and you get to your famous ESP screen which we only track the device. Like if you want additional problems, you can like let the user ESP also continue, but mostly we disable user ESP
Yeah,
and go with that. And the policies come in, you get to the login screen and you log into the domain. This is obviously the first. That is why you need to deploy a VPN client to establish the AD line of sight to the AD. And when you sign into that particular screen, if the sync has not happened in the backend, then you are not going to get a Azure PRT on that login. So even if you get to the desktop screen, the device provisioning is not complete technically. And there is where the user experience starts failing because there is no Azure AD PRT, the device is not recognized by Azure. Uh, None of the services starts basically. OneDrive sync won't start. Uh, you will have issues. Uh, when you open any M365 applications like Word, Excel, those will not be signed in obviously because there's no PRT to them, and that's a bad user experience that I have already told. So what is actually happening in the backend is when Intune creates the device object. It does not, as I told, it does not get syncs to Azure AD instantly because AD Connect waits till the user certificate property of the device object gets updated. Now, if you have uh, configured filter-based or attribute-based filtering for the sync, then that's additional problem that you have introduced into this already complex process. But I will leave that for this moment. So the device has no identity in Azure as usual. What it does is this is where the SCP comes in while configuring the Azure AD Connect. It queries the service connection point to get the AD tenant info, and with that information, it creates a self-signed certificate and updates the user certificate property of the device object. After which the device is eligible for the sync. So the sync has not happened. It's now eligible for the sync. And AD Connect will sync the device object in its own sweet time. So whatever that you have configured, default is 30 minutes. If you are running a Delta sync every minute, then that's good, but
Joy,
not
Joy,
valid.
you are giving Harjit a nightmare.
I'm not gonna sleep now.
So basically now, after that sync happens finally, like when it finally happens is when you get the hybrid Azure AD device object in AAD. So now in Azure AD, you will have two device objects for the same object, or for the same device actually. One is for the Autopilot registration, which has the ZTTID stamping, and the other one is the one that the Azure AD Connect has created, syncs from the on-prem. And the device completes the automatic registration. And after that, when the user actually does a restart or log off, login, or a sign out, sign in, and another sign in events happen on the Windows is when the Azure AD PRT comes to the device. Obviously, the end user does not know. Like as a corporate user, we rarely like shut down our systems. At the end of the day, when we go to sleep, like we just close the lid and go. Next day
Yeah.
morning, we come up, open the lid. That's how it is. And if you want your users to like restart, that only happens when an update is on Windows or something like that. So that is here. Uh, this is where the solution like uh, I only tried showing a way like how you can overcome the problem of Azure AD PRT with the hybrid that we face. But now there are many versions out there. Like there are people who have taken the solution and have done further modifications on it, and I'm very happy for that because like it shows that people has at least seen my blog post on that.
No, no,
So
no, no. There are a lot of people following your blog post. So yeah.
so that is where I have introduced that splash screen type of solution, which buffers the device until it is actually ready. So it monitors the backend process, and once it detects that it has completed, so the device registration has completed, that is identified by the event ID 306 of user device registration event. It restarts the device, and then when you actually sign in back, you get the Azure AD PRT and everything starts flowing, and that's a good end user experience. The video I think is already there, but if I have time, I will show that as well, how it looks like. So this is basically one a Hyper-V, not a physical machine. I'm not reimaging my own laptop to do a hybrid Azure AD test.
No, you mean to say you are
So
not like Harjit?
no. So this is basically how a new device provisioning will go with a hybrid Azure AD joined with this solution that I talked about. Uh, it's simple. So at this moment, it is just reaching out to Intune and requesting for the OTJ blob. And once the device receives the OTJ blob, is when we know that the device does a restart actually and comes back up uh, to go to the ESP. And in the backend, the device object is obviously created and waiting for the AAD connect sync. And an interesting thing about the ESP is your autopilot deployment should actually go with uh, the minimum number of applications that is absolutely necessary on the device to start with. The ESP is not meant that you will load everything that a user might
Yeah.
need during the provisioning, because at the end of the day, like you can push 25 apps, make it required in the ESP, but it also has an impact on the bandwidth. Like if we are talking about a user doing a provisioning from his home, uh, like a normal autopilot provisioning with 5 to 6 apps, one of them being the M365 app suite, which is of size almost 1.2 or 1.3 or 1.5 GB, like approximately, you are already pushing the bandwidth of around 4 to 5 gigs for a single provision.
But I think white glove or pre-provisioning can help here folks like Harjit, right? Like who is doing hybrid Azure AD and assigning all the application as required into
You're killing
ESP.
me. You're killing
I
me.
will say I am provisioning or pre-provisioning or white glove is a good addition to the autopilot, but I don't really support that, because like when you use that, one of the primary fundamentals of autopilot was to reduce the IT overhead from
Exactly.
device provisioning. And when you do a pre-provisioning, unless and until it is coming pre-provisioned from your OEM or device partner, like they can do pre-provisioning as well. So if
Yeah.
you have that type of contract and you make Dell or HP pre-provision the device and then send it to your users, then I'm perfectly okay with it. But the
Right.
devices coming from the OEMs into your warehouse and then the IT unpacking them and doing the pre-provisioning and then repackaging the boxes, that's you are adding back the IT overhead to the thing. So,
But
like
so
the
like
problem,
ESP, right? I mean, you can use it to block until specific applications are installed and stuff, which is what generally people use. But if if you're not doing that, and you already have applications that you assign to device groups, or user groups, those are still going to happen, right, during autopilot provisioning, or am I wrong? Because um, like during the three phase
if
steps, right, you got the device, what was it, configuration or whatever, and then device setup, and then the user profiles.
user,
So
yeah,
I believe that's what happens during the device setup phase, because it's now putting on the policies, and any applications that are targeted to the device group that this device particularly belongs to. And I also understand, I was reading up that if you've been targeting applications to users as using the system account, right, then that will also happen during the user
the device
profile
setup is
phase, right?
correct.
So so we have to be very careful, and I think how we mention this stuff, because people think like, oh yeah, I'm not targeting anything. I'm not blocking the, you know, my devices from having specific applications installed at a very minimum, but there are applications that are happening. Am I right?
So, there's thing like that when we are going for a new device provisioning, uh, the user getting a new device, obviously the modus operandi for an organization or IT is to give a device that was exactly like the old device that has been taken back from the employee. But in doing so, we are forgetting that we are moving from one mode of operation to another new mode of operation, and it's a clean slate beginning.
Mhm.
So if it's a clean slate during the provisioning, what are the minimum requirements? You throw in the O365 app suite, you get Outlook, Teams, Word, Excel, whatever. That takes care of the productivity part. You throw in a AV solution, uh,
Company portal.
company portal, yeah, obviously, and a few here and there things. And then make the applications like, obviously, if you want the application to be forced, make it as required, but don't track it during the ESP. Let it flow normally. And the best thing is like make it available to the users so that the users, like if they need it, they require it, go to the company portal, click download and get it installed. There is
Right.
nothing uh like complicated in that, right?
Empower the
So
user.
Yeah.
yeah, empower the user. Why like shoving them down to the device?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. No, this has been great, man. I really enjoyed watching the flow of your steps and stuff like that. That was really helpful, and I'm sure we're gonna see that in a blog post sometime in the near future. Uh, but I think there's so much to talk about this topic and other things. So we're gonna bring you back again, and we're gonna dive deeper into this and maybe
Mhm.
have more demonstrations with your the steps you talked about because that was really amazing. All right. Is there anything else we need? We
Yeah, probably you can share your Twitter handler and social media details so that um, our viewers can follow you easily. And anyways, we will put all those
yeah.
details in the description of the video as well.
All
Yeah,
right.
so like yeah, I'm available there in Twitter, jbasu369, I think it is, and I'm also available over LinkedIn. Like if you want to reach out to me, like I do really respond, so you can obviously reach out to me.
Don't worry. We'll put all
I,
your stuff inside in our YouTube channel so they'll
Yeah.
find you. Don't worry.
yeah. So
So
I don't know whether that was pointed at me or you, Harjit.
No, nothing like that.
good question. Oh my
Anyways,
god.
we will find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. We'll find out soon enough. All right, man. So that was
Yeah.
great. Thank you for being here, and you're gonna come back again, and for sure. So thank you very much.
Thank you
So
very much and
yeah,
namaste. Right? Oh,
namaste. Oh
Yeah.
wait.
wait.
So
Forget
until
something.
next time, you know where to
Yeah.
find us, and
And don't forget to share, subscribe, and do whatever
like,
you want.
like,
Like.
like. Spread
Yeah.
the word. Join our show. Subscribe. All right. Until next time. Namaste.
Namaste.